infrastructure in the city, the health in the city, and the vending. Yes. I'll get to all three of those, but I do want to ask you about one that I think falls under the remit of the mayor, and correct me if I'm incorrect, the question of hydrants and them never having water. Whose remit does that fall under?
Fire service.
Good, just one, so exclusively?
Yes.
I see. So the boroughs are not responsible.
No, we
good enough. Now I know where to direct that heat. Let's go to Charlotte Street. The vending on Charlotte Street has been a nightmare for a number of reasons. And one of the more serious ones among them is that if there's a fire or anything in the area, emergency vehicles cannot get through. If there is a problem, both sides of the streets are filled. The center of the street, folks spill over there. Pedestrians walk there. If there is ever, God forbid, a fire in the capital city, your city, then the emergency equipment cannot get to them. How is it proposed that be responded to? And what is going to be the fate of the vendors on Charlotte Street is my question.
Well,
yes,
Charlotte Street. Let me start by saying the Charlotte Street vending program, the city of Port of Spain inherited the Charlotte Street vending program. And when I say that, I mean the Charlotte Street vending program was implemented by way of a cabinet note, a former cabinet note. And I think, if my memory serves me correct, it ranging way back under Mrs. Manning as Minister of Local Government. Mm-hmm. To my understanding, the Charlotte Street program, things fell apart. Because if you drive down Charlotte Street now, you would see it's vending on both sides, carts in the road, etc., etc.
I raise the issue because I have tried to do that, and every time I hit the accelerator, I worry, am I touching somebody, running over something? No, it's almost impossible, and I've done this in the nighttime, and I hazard an approach one time in the daytime. I quickly abandoned that idea.
And I have been briefed that was not the case at the start of the program, and the program was never intended to be that. Vending in Charlotte Street is supposed to be from Thursday to Saturday. Mm-hmm. And also vendors supposed to vend on one side of the street. The entire side, opposite side, supposed to be free of any vehicular
traffic
blocking. Mm-hmm. And also we have a situation whereby vendors are placing their products and their stock on the opposite side. So as their stock depletes, they pull it from the opposite side. Mm-hmm. So we have all those challenges facing us. And that was the project was never intended for that. So we have an issue. It's a policing issue, traffic management issue. It's a public health issue. And of course, it's a hazard for emergency purposes.
Am I clear that you are in charge of the police to enforce those regulations?
The City Police Department.
Yes, City Police
falls
Department,
falls under us. Yes. So,
and the reason I'm asking is because, what is the problem? I'm asking because I understand what you have said. Mm-hmm. It was an inherited good idea that has been has gone awry. Okay,
so the plan is to restructure the Charlotte Street vending program and try and see if we can deal with all these challenges.
But in the meantime, should we, God forbid, have a fire?
Yes.
Should we, God forbid, have a serious situation in that area? We are talking about many lives that are at risk. And something surely must stand there as your priority. We've got to get on this quickly. I would have asked the same question of your predecessor.
Yes, well, that's why I had vending at the top of the list, because that falls under, when I say vending, it speaks to Charlotte Street.
So we are to expect some initiative, even though there's only 8 months of life here. This mayor is not lame duck. You have enough time for us to put
8 months is a long way. It's a long way.
Exactly. All right. You talk about the health in the city. I know that the penalty articulated for folks in the city is the same as you mentioned in the case of littering, because you've got a lot of properties that's abandoned, and abandoned properties, of course, become breeding grounds for mosquitoes and so on. Speak to that, please.
Last Wednesday or Thursday, we received a memo from the Ministry of Health, mm-hmm. and the Port of Spain Corporation received $500,000 towards efforts towards the fight against the Zika. Mm-hmm. We have roughly about 89 to 90 vacant, abandoned, overgrown lots throughout the city. Mm-hmm. So that $500,000 was pledged to each corporation, the 14 municipalities. Mm-hmm. And the Port of Spain Corporation, we started the efforts in terms of cleaning and clearing the vacant and abandoned lots throughout the city. Also, we are not just doing that. These lots will be tagged, and the owners will be made to pay upon approaching the corporation. So which is to say, you have a vacant and abandoned lot, you haven't been dealing with it, you haven't been cleaning it, it's untidy. When time for you to come and pay for any development that you may want to do with the property, nothing will be done until you clear what you're owing to the Port of Spain Corporation.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
If it gets really bad, of course, we will just sit on your property and find some ways to get what is owed to the city. Because again, you must have a deterrent that propel folks into correcting their problem. The voice you're hearing with us this morning is the new mayor of Port of Spain. We are anticipating, we are optimistic that his 6 years sitting on the seat as deputy mayor, his own learning, his experience, and his new approach to this situation will, in 8 months, bring to fruition a number of the things that are on the plate. We just identified the 3 areas that you see. Going to the infrastructure area, because I am happy to hear that it is a concern about the state of disrepair of a lot of the pavements and so on. How much money on an average has the city paid out last year or the last 2 years in claims from folks who have either been injured by sidewalks or stuff like that?
It's in the millions.
It's in the millions.
But what happens is once we get these claims, we send it to, there's a legal company, I think it's called Risk Management, and they do the assessment, etc. And we have a legal team that looks at these things and do their assessment and make recommendations on behalf of the council, and then the legal framework kicks in. But we have been paying out. It's a tidy sum.
It's a tidy sum of money. Mayor Valentine, in conclusion, I want to go into sitting there for 6 years. I know at the top you mentioned that it's a whole different talk show to go into the question of the new powers to be given to the municipalities. But that is something that the PNM spoke about on the platform. It is something that's being discussed all the time. Give me some of the 3 changes you believe that will greatly assist your office, the mayor's office, in getting a lot of changes done that you are hoping that's in the discussion when we talk about giving greater power to the municipalities, the boroughs, and so on.
Well, I wouldn't want to go into 3 because basically there's one fundamental change that needs to be done, and which is on the table. As we speak, the mayor of Port of Spain or any other municipality in Trinidad and Tobago, there are limitations. And when I say limitations, I mean when a council makes a decision, yes, we make that decision stands. But in terms of action and in terms of receiving funding, the required funding, it has to go up to Kent House, to the Honorable Minister of Local Government, who has to sign off. We find ourselves in a situation where politics will play out. For example, we just came out of a general election. We are PNM Council. The Minister of Local Government then would have been from another political party. So there are so much issues would remain on the desk without the minister signing off for one reason or another. The local government reform now speaks of an executive council. The mayor would be an executive mayor. So we make our own decisions. We are in charge of our own funding. And there will be no minister of local government when that reform kicks in.
That's
understand where I'm coming from?
Yes, I understand the clarification where you're coming from.
That's where we're at.
That is going to be a major decision. Well, I thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning.
My pleasure.
I wish you, it's a lot on your plate in 8 months.
Yes.
Can I anticipate that you will be going up for full mayorship at the end of this?
Well, in politics you can't expect anything. But whenever called to serve, I will make myself available. But apart from that, I am an elected councillor. So I'm councillor for the electoral district of Northern Port of Spain.
All right. That's another discussion that I'll get you in for another time. All right.
Sure.
But I thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning.
It's my pleasure.
The new mayor of Port of Spain, and I say it by way of pride this time, not because it's supposed to be indicative of any inability to execute. So I would say the 31-year-old mayor of Port of Spain, who has been, quickly I amend, the deputy mayor for 6 years.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come with us this morning. You have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you so much now.